Hello, my name is Ramey Smith and I am with Insight School of Ohio. I am a lead teacher mentor here and a super user for D2L. And I wanted to show you some ways to increase engagement and individualized instruction using release conditions in the class news and the content. So I'm going to start in the class news. So I'm going to click on the drop-down menu and click New News Item. As you know, that is one of many ways that you can access a new news item. So I'm going to go straight down to the release conditions to talk about a few of the different ones and the possibilities for them. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Create and Attach, and then talk about some of the different types of release conditions there are. Okay, so this first set of release conditions has to do with checklists. So if you use checklists for the students, you can create a release condition that allows for a shout out or something along those lines for when a checklist is completed or a checklist item is completed. That way the student is encouraged to keep going in the coursework. The class list is super helpful if you have groups. For example, at Insight Ohio, we're starting to use cohort start dates, so we're creating groups based on those cohorts. And then also for intervention, we are doing performance bands for Title I interventions, so we have groups for those as well. So if you have, say, new kids coming in, you could create like a video or an introduction for the students that are in the new cohort. So you could have, base that on the group enrollment, and then just include those students that are new to welcome them to the class, show them the basics of D2L, etc. Also, and I mentioned performance bands. Say that you have a particular set of students, like your high intensity students that need the extra resources for specific tasks. You could create a news item that includes those resources, whether it's videos or additional links for practice, etc., and set a release condition to send to those specific students. For those that are low intensity, you could find resources that are extensions to those, those objectives to keep those students engaged as well, and then only release that particular news item to those groups. So, and notice that here in the class list, it gives all these different options, date of enrollment, etc. The role, I would imagine, would be student, etc. I think the most used at Insight Ohio will be the group enrollment. And then I have not gotten into the competencies at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and breeze past that, as well as the content and the discussions. Say that you want to, discuss with a student, share out information based on their submission to a Dropbox to draw their attention to it. You can do that as well. You can set a release condition to let the student know in the class news that they received feedback on the Dropbox submission, etc. I would say that probably one of the most helpful release conditions is going to be on the grades. So say that the student had just taken a unit test or something like that. You can click on grade value on a grade item, and then you can choose the grade item. So say, for example, this class just completed the Unit 1 assessment. And then for the criteria, you can choose, like, say that students received a 70% or higher. You could do a release condition to provide a shout out for those students, and just to give them a boost of confidence for their achievement. Say that they had between a certain scores, you can have that kind of a release condition so that you can direct students to additional practice, or point them to the grade book so that they can check for missing assignments, things like that. The possibilities are endless here with the class news and the release conditions. And I'm going to go ahead and click cancel to look at the rest of the types of release conditions. So we have the grade items that are possible. You can also go as far as the score on a specific quiz. So if there's a particular quiz or objective that you have for the week, if a student gets a particular score on a quiz, you can customize what the student sees in the class news based on that. You can give them a good job, you worked hard on that type of thing for completing a quiz. You can go as far as sending additional resources if a student got a particular question wrong using the class news, and so on. So all of these are ways to get information to the students right where they're at, based on their achievement, based on their engagement level, based on where they're starting from, etc. So this is one way to truly individualize instruction. The other place that I'm going to go to besides the class news is the actual content. So I'm going to go ahead and click on content. And if there are particular items that you want to have release conditions for. So for example, in this course, this income unit and this project, they go hand in hand. So I chose to have the unit be actual credit and then the project to be extra credit, just to give an extension or an enhancement to those students that are engaged. How often do you hear students ask for extra credit, but then they haven't done necessarily the items that are actual credit? Here is a way to boost that engagement for those assignments that you need them to do. So for this particular project, what I did was I created a release condition. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that just to review it. So you just you click release, or I'm sorry, you click create for the release condition, and then for the condition type, all of these are really similar. And then, so what I did was, what I wanted the students to have completed the unit test before they have access to this assignment. So you would just click on completed quiz attempt, and then I went for the Unit 1 test. And you can even say how many attempts would you have liked the student to have completed. So, I wanted to be fair. I wanted the student to complete it, once. So then I created that as a release condition. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel because I already created it. So not only did I want the students to have attempted part 1, but I also wanted them to do the Dropbox assignment from part 2. So you can create more than one release condition. So in this case, what I did was I clicked condition, and then I went down to the Dropbox, and then submission to Dropbox. And then I chose the Dropbox that I wanted them to put a submission in, which was the Unit 1 Part 2. And then you just click Create, which I already did, so I'm going to click Cancel. So then from there, if a student had completed both Part 1 and Part 2, they were able to see this project in the content. So you better believe that once I created that release condition, I put it in the class news saying you have a bonus point opportunity. In fact, I'm going to show that now. So I have that right here. This week I'm providing you with a bonus project. Once you submit the Unit 1 test Part 1 and 2, you can gain access to this project. To find it, click on Content and access the Unit 2 project there. So So I released that to everybody so that all students were able to see that that was possible. However, I made a release condition so that way the students would need to take the Unit 1 test to have access to the bonus project. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ramey Smith with Insight School of Ohio. I hope this helped you to come up with some ideas to increase engagement using our asynchronous tools, particularly the class news and the content.